My son's future wife wants me to walk her down the aisle and say in a speech that I love her like a daughter, but she also wants me to treat her like a daughter in ways that feel inappropriate to me. I am 41 years old and have 2 children with my ex-wife, who is 40. I have a son named John who is 22 and a daughter named Sally who is 20. I am remarried to my current wife, who is 28, and I have a very close relationship with my children. My son is engaged to Abby. She seems pleasant, but she has been a bit pushy, trying to force a close relationship with both me and my wife, although she is also somewhat awkward around her. Abby is not close to her own family and has told us many stories about why, and while some of her complaints do not sound terrible, it is not my place to judge since I did not live her experiences and cannot truly know how things were. We have tried to be welcoming, but she has pushed herself into certain family traditions where she would not normally have been invited, including some that are strictly for immediate family only. John began calling Sally sister after they had only been dating for a few months. Abby has a strange sister-mother-in-law type relationship with my wife, and what bothers me the most is that she wants me to act as a father to her, not because we bonded or clicked in any way, but simply because she wants that role filled. We are very different people, and I do not say that negatively, only that this expectation is not based on any natural connection between us. My children and I have a tradition when they visit, where we catch up privately in my office before they leave, which has become even more important to them because although they get along with my wife, they are still not comfortable having deeply personal conversations in front of her. Abby asked if she could join these talks, and after I explained the tradition, John asked me to allow it, saying she had never had a loving conversation with her own father. We reached a compromise. I did not include her in the tradition itself, but I joined them afterward for coffee and let her talk. Shortly after that, she began calling me Dad, even though they were not yet engaged. John pulled me aside and begged me to go along with it, telling me that I was the father she had always wanted and that this was all she wanted from me. He said she had cried watching the way I interacted with Sally. Abby began hugging me randomly and telling me that I was a lucky dad. I was uncomfortable, but I felt guilty and eventually gave in. She now wants me to walk her down the aisle and to do the father-daughter dance at the wedding. I do not want to walk her down the aisle, and on top of that, I use a cane, which makes dancing difficult for me. At my own wedding, I only danced twice. John has been begging me to do it, especially the walking down the aisle part. They visited one Sunday while John and I were talking, and I was planning to bring up the subject when Abby entered the room without knocking and asked if he had already told me. I asked what she meant, and John said she wanted me to mention in my speech that I now had a second daughter and that I loved her. I simply looked at him. Abby then asked if I would do it for Sally, if I would walk her down the aisle and dance with her, and I said of course. She shouted that she was also my daughter, and I told her that it would never be the same, because Sally is my real daughter. I tried to explain that I would speak about Abby as a happy addition to the family and about how happy it makes me to see John, which I thought was a fair compromise, but she began to cry. John apologized and they left, but he later called me from home, almost begging me to change my mind. Am I the asshole for not wanting to lie and say that I love her or that she is my daughter? So my wife and I gave them a few minutes to calm down, and later I was alone with my son, who looked completely exhausted. He told me that the real problem was that after Mother's Day, Abby had called Sally and kept insisting that both of them were my daughters, that I could not be close to one without being close to the other, and that it was the two of them against me. At that point, Sally finally exploded and said everything she had been holding back. Things were said, and John had to hang up before the situation got even worse, but it seems that Abby was deeply shaken by what happened. The new issue is that Abby has decided in her own mind that I am not saying what I really think, that I am only doing this because of Sally. John told me he would handle it, but he did not. Now I have started receiving text messages from Abby every few days, acting as if we have some kind of secret relationship that Sally does not know about. She even refers to herself as my secret daughter and laughs about it. She invited my wife out to lunch, saying that 2 of his 3 girls should go out together. She has even started using pressure by showing up at events, like a recent barbecue, to create a certain image. She hugs me more, holds on to me longer, wants photos with just me or with my wife and me together, but always makes sure there are some with just me, which she later posts with captions I do not like. My wife is especially upset by how Abby behaves with her, and I believe Abby surprised my wife with Father's Day plans that had to be cancelled, but she still managed to insert herself into the day anyway. My wife has a big heart and gives in when Abby gets emotional. I asked my son if he was upset with me, and he said no, he just wished things were different. He said everything was fine, but he was worried that he and Sally were not. That was when I took the advice of some people and suggested premarital counseling. Abby said she would talk about it. Abby is insisting that Sally attend her dress fitting, and honestly that shop should charge admission for the real-life fight that seems to be coming, because Sally no longer has any filters. I told Abby that Sally loves her very much and that I would talk to her, but for now everything is extremely stressful for everyone. Abby is driving my wife crazy with her ideas about what my girls should be doing, she is driving me crazy with all the father-daughter content, and she has pushed Sally to her limit as well. As if that were not enough, last night she sent me an email with 3 different father-daughter dance styles and song options. I do not feel any more respected or listened to than before. The 6 of us have barely been in the same room since Father's Day, letting things cool down, which was great until it turned into a disaster. Sorry this is so long with all this madness, this is the shortened version. We are supposed to see each other on Friday. Sally's girlfriend and I have a bet on how badly that will go, so let's see. I hope you parents had a less dramatic day than mine. And by any chance, does anyone know how serious the crime has to be to qualify for the Witness Protection Program, just out of curiosity? Edit. My wife is pregnant and I am very protective, so I made it clear that stress stays at the threshold of our door, except for my children in my office, because that is their safe space and far from my wife's ears. I was asked about the fake message sent from Sally's girlfriend's phone and whether I could confirm it was Abby. I do not think it is possible to confirm, but according to Sally, her phone was somewhere Abby could have accessed it. This is all insane, but with everything going on, work news being good, family news being even better, and the wedding situation, I am trying to control my drinking. With the family blowing up a bit on Father's Day, I honestly forgot to ask what exactly happened. I need to call her later. It is funny, but until you sit down and write everything out, you do not realize how much there really is, it just feels like one thing after another. It is a shame, because at the beginning we really did like her, my daughter, my wife, and I. She was interesting, with diverse interests, she has traveled a lot for her age, and even she and I shared some musical tastes. The problem started when she decided she wanted this. Her personality changed and she became pushy, constantly steering conversations back to what she wanted. If it was a topic that interested her, it was like everything else was put on hold until we gave in, which we have not done, so it has not moved forward. Someone said that witness protection is for major crimes and not for crimes I could realistically commit, and that faking my death would be a better option. You make a good point about the witness protection program. I was also thinking of trying activities like sailing and diving in shark-infested waters without location trackers. Update 2. I have received requests for updates on my situation, and while I am enjoying a refreshing mojito and my wife is enjoying a little nap, life feels good, and it feels like the perfect moment to entertain the world with my pain and family drama. On top of that, one of my own, who apparently reads these stories and knows my situation, gave me the convincing friend argument of, you cannot leave people hanging. How can I argue with logic that solid? Sorry again for how long this is, a lot has happened. My wife's pregnancy is going well, and keeping her as stress-free and pampered as possible has been my main focus. It is such a different experience this time, both because I can be much more involved and because I have a much better relationship with my wife than I did with my ex. My daughter Sally has been great, and her partner has been great too, helping with the baby's room or taking her to appointments when I cannot. My wife does not know yet because it is a surprise, but my son has been building a crib for the baby, modeled after the one I made for him and his sister, to show his support for my wife. My son is a good man and still himself, he just has a weakness when it comes to Abby, which brings us to the part of the movie where Godzilla shows up and starts destroying buildings. So I called a family meeting with my children to talk about the situation. I told John that his sister was only participating in wedding-related activities that she actually wanted to be involved in, and that the guilt-driven requests needed to stop, because this was damaging his relationship with his sister. Sally was relieved that I said it, because she did not want to be the one who had to say it yet again. I also told him that if the messages from Abby did not stop, I would block her with an honest and direct explanation. We cleared a lot of things up, and John seemed to understand, but a few days later they insisted on coming over to talk again. Sally and I decided that we would put everything on the table, so we all had dinner at our house. Abby immediately started talking about baby shower plans, and I told her that this was exactly what we needed to address. I explained that I understood she had been trying to fill a void, that she believed she was gaining a father, a second mother, and a sister. I told her that this could still be possible, but that she needed to start listening to us. For the sake of the family, I said we were willing to offer a fresh start if she agreed that from now on she would respect our boundaries. My daughter was not thrilled with this idea, but she loves her brother and was willing to try. Abby tried to say that since we were starting over, we could define what the relationship would be and simply be a family, but we told her we were not ready for that and that it needed to happen organically. She became angry because I am closer to my daughter's partner, which is true, but simply because we get along well, and she said she deserved the same for having tried so hard. My daughter said something about trying things people actually want. Abby ran to the bathroom and John ran after her. After a while, I went to check on them and could hear her repeating, "This is not what I wanted." My wife, my daughter, and her partner went out to the patio to give them privacy and try to salvage the evening. After some time, I received a message saying that they had left. The next day I spoke with my son, and he told me that they talked more at home and that she understood. For a couple of weeks, things were fine. The messages stopped, except for the occasional question about the wedding as the date approached. She stopped pressuring my wife and Sally, and we thought she was involving us less in the wedding planning out of respect, especially since they had only secured the venue at that price thanks to my professional contacts, and they knew I was willing to help but not interested in planning, even though I am good at event organization. But then I received a call from the wedding venue telling me that the card I had used had been declined. This is a specific card that I use for large purchases because of the mileage points. So I knew the card had a high limit, which is how I found out they had changed the wedding date, despite having been told that I would still lose a large portion of the money because it was too close to the original date. I was furious. I mean, I have been fortunate financially, but I am not someone who just throws deposits away. I called my son and told him I needed him to come over, just him, but they both showed up. When they arrived, I opened the door and she immediately started with a, "Dad," and I think I just responded with something like "This cannot be real" and walked toward the table. Abby had the nerve to ask about dinner, and my response was not polite, making it clear that was not why they were there. I expected my son not to lie to me, so I asked what was going on with the wedding venue. She started talking about wedding details, but my son interrupted her to tell me that they had postponed the wedding because my ex-wife could not attend due to surgery, and that he had not told me because he was gathering money to cover the loss, and that he had just informed the guests. That was when Abby opened her mouth and said, "Now we have more time to work on our dance." At that moment my wife arrived home, and while I was walking her to the bedroom, with Abby saying that with my pregnant wife present, I responded calmly that I had very different feelings about that and would address them shortly, or something along those lines. I tucked my wife into bed, brought her water, put on symphonic cover versions of popular songs, and then returned to the table. I told Abby something like, "You are completely out of line," and made it clear that I was fed up with this nonsense, that all of us were, and I lost my temper a bit, asking her if she had not listened the last time or if her mind had been somewhere else. She went silent, which was such a beautiful sound, and looked at me while I, with no filter, explained what Sally and I thought about our time with her and her attempts to force us to love her without us even really knowing her. She started crying and stood up yelling, "So what was all of this for then?" and John asked her what she meant by that. She became agitated, frantic even, and said she was referring to the wedding delay because, and I am pouring myself another drink as I write this, it was a calculated move. My ex-wife and Abby decided that if I had more time, I might change my mind. Apparently my ex told her not to worry about the money because I am loaded. She has always been bitter because I earn much more now than I did when we were married, as if that were out of spite rather than the direction my career took. I honestly believe she did this on purpose, but Abby had not only told me that lie, she and my ex also told it to John. He was devastated, repeating "You lied to me," while she tried to twist the situation, but he finally let out everything he had defended and covered for her, and how she had lied to him as well. She became defensive, blaming my ex for putting ideas in her head and blaming me for being stubborn, and then she screamed, "Why can't I just call him Dad?" Finally, after all this time, I heard John respond, "Because he is not your damn dad." She began crying and mentioned something about how he was the one who told her she could call me that, but he said he had told her again and again to take things slowly. She started sobbing and went to sit back down, but misjudged the chair and ended up falling on the floor. I appreciate physical comedy as a way to break tension, so I admit I laughed and covered my mouth with my drink, which led to even more sobbing. I told them I needed to check on my wife, and as I walked away she kept repeating, "I just want him to be my dad too." I stepped outside and John was walking her to the door, apologizing. I told him it was not necessary. They left, and he came back a few days later and told me they had a long conversation at home. He even asked her if she would have dated him if there were no possibility of becoming part of the family. He believed her when she said yes, but she admitted that I was also a major reason, that I was the kind of dad she had always wanted, and that my relationship with Sally was what she had always wanted. The way she said it gave John doubts about whether she loved him for who he was. We talked about couples therapy, like his mother and I once tried, and although it did not save our marriage, it gave us clarity and an impartial voice. I told him I cannot be impartial, and that if they are truly trying, they need to commit to it fully. Abby later texted me asking if I was the one who suggested therapy. I replied that it only matters if John wants it. She asked why it was so bad to want to know what I thought, and I simply told her that John is the man whose opinion should matter most to her. They argued because of that message, but she agreed to therapy and the wedding has been postponed. I may have done a small celebratory dance. They are in therapy now, and my son has told me that she struggles, though I obviously do not know the details. She has been pushing for Sally and me to attend a session with her, but Sally told her she does not want to listen to her without filters, and I am not interested either. She has left Sally alone and stopped messaging me except for a few general questions that still include attempts to dig deeper. My wife still spends time with her occasionally, which makes me more uncomfortable than I would like, but that is my wife's decision. So that is where we are. Sorry for how long this is, but alcohol does not make me a good editor. Edit. After seeing the suggestion here that the truly toxic one was my ex, I texted John about 40 minutes ago suggesting that he bill his mother for the therapy. This is truly awful. She tried to hurt him by attempting to alienate him when we separated, but she had never done anything this extreme before. John said that in therapy they are discussing his mother's influence, though understandably he did not want to go into details. My son is furious with his mother. I think he now sees her more the way Sally does. I never expected my ex-wife to use Abby to attack me. I know she is resentful, but she had not done something this petty in years. My son is furious with her, and apparently my daughter completely destroyed her in front of her friends. I would pay to have seen that. From what I understand, she absolutely demolished her. My son described it as a Mortal Kombat fatality, except they kept attacking the character afterward so they could experience the other fatalities too. My daughter has a very particular way of expressing herself. And for those asking for mojitos because they are also exhausted by Abby, I am on my third. Trust me, this woman will have me buying them by the case. Update 3. I was told I should post updates here about what happened on Father's Day and at her mother's house. I have been extremely busy these past few months, but I am enjoying my temporary unemployment and remembered this account because of the recent Thanksgiving drama. I will do an update and then explain what happened before that. And to the person who joked that Abby finally got me to dance, that actually made me laugh. I shared it with the family. Most of my time has been spent taking care of my wife, and yes, I tend to spoil her. We are having a boy and we are very excited, although neither of us had a gender preference. I have raised both, and both experiences were wonderful. We are now discussing names and who we want to honor. I thought everything had been calm, but recently I found my wife crying and realized I was wrong. Because I have been so busy with work, and knowing that I would be free this month, my wife had apparently been keeping this to herself. Abby had been pushing for a Thanksgiving gathering this year. Things had been calm with her, and my son said that the wedding blow-up had been a wake-up call and that therapy had been helping, but then this happened. From what I understand, while John has been speaking less with his mother because of everything that happened, Abby has done the opposite. According to my wife, Abby showed up one day with my ex-wife. My wife deeply distrusts my ex-wife because of the lies she spread about my marriage, claiming it ended due to infidelity with my current wife, even though there was no infidelity and the timeline makes that impossible. Before anyone asks, my ex does not actually believe there was infidelity. I will not get into that because I know it would sound biased. In any case, my wife saw the camera app, recognized who it was, and called my daughter. Apparently both of them had been hiding things from me because I had been working 18-hour shifts and they did not want me to have more to deal with. I wish they had not done that, but I appreciate the intention. I am very lucky to have such caring people around me. My daughter called her mother and said something that made them leave quickly. She did not tell me what it was, but she smiles whenever I ask. I called John, but he was dealing with some bad news at work. So I was just there to support him and set everything else aside. The next day Abby came back, this time alone. My wife saw that it was her and asked from the door what she wanted. Abby said she wanted to apologize. My wife let her in, she is too kind, and after a pleasant conversation Abby asked about the possibility of getting the whole family together for Thanksgiving. My wife said of course. A couple of days later, in our group chat, we were discussing details about who was bringing what, and Abby asked what else was needed. I said that John had already committed to something, and she asked what I thought my ex-wife should bring. In all the time I have known Abby, I have never heard a joke so deliberate and so pointed, so I asked her what she meant and referenced the whole family comment. My daughter and I asked what made her think my ex-wife was included as part of the family. Abby replied that she is her family. She said she does not have a dad who loves her, only a mom, and that her mom deserves to be with family on Thanksgiving. Sally replied, "Well then we will miss you and John." Abby asked how she could say that, and Sally asked how she could be so stupid. John told Sally not to call her stupid, and I said it was fine, but there was no way she could think my wife meant to include my ex when she said family. Then, in an incredibly stupid move, Abby used my son's phone to add my damn ex-wife to the group chat. My ex then thanked us for the invitation and asked what she could bring. While I was typing, my daughter was faster and asked her what she thought she was doing, knowing she was not welcome, though she said it far less politely. My wife wrote that she could not have thought my ex was included when she said family. Abby replied that she was not coming as part of my family, but as part of hers. Sally then gave her mother a lecture, since she barely speaks to her anymore, and told her that if my ex-wife was there, she would not be. I stated that there was never any possibility of my ex attending, and told them that I would understand if Abby and John wanted to go to her mother's house so she would not be alone. John wrote that plans were not final and that he would let everyone know. Since then, he has told me that he is not going to his mother's house, but that he wanted to tell Abby first. All I can think about is her comment about not having a dad who loves her, because that means she is still thinking of me as a father, or at least as a neglectful one. I mentioned that to my son and he said he noticed it too and had brought it up in therapy, since family is a recurring topic, though obviously I do not know the details. I thought this would be brief, but it turned into a lot. I will get into the crazier stories later if people ask. I am not sure how this works in terms of anyone seeing it, but it has been good to get it out. Edit. For those asking whether we spoke with John and I, along with his sister, had a serious conversation shortly after everything exploded. It seems that conversation inspired both his push for therapy and the decision to put the wedding on pause. He is now better at seeing Abby more honestly. His sister mentioned that Abby shared similarities with their mother, which would be fighting words coming from anyone else, and I saw a temper that rarely comes out, but then he listened, because she had clearly taken time to think it through. He had never considered it before. I am proud to have children who are smarter than me. I know my son may not sound like a genius in these posts, and that is fair in this context, but professionally he is brilliant. She laid out her reasoning in detail, and he listened, because even though he did not like it, it was honest. Something seems to have clicked, because since that talk he has been different with Abby. I am just not letting my hopes get too high. Update 4. I do not have time to go into detail right now, but I am so excited that I had to share this. Thanksgiving went so badly that my son broke off the engagement, and now he is going to stay at our house while he decides what to do next. He arrived Sunday night exhausted and asked if he could use the guest room. We talked for a couple of hours, and I now understand a bit more why he felt trapped, but he also realizes that if she cannot see her own issues, he cannot help her fix them. This Saturday I am taking him and his sister out for a fun day, just to relax and enjoy themselves. He looks so tired and just needs some fun. Even though things are a bit messy, it seems like this is moving in a healthier direction for him. The people here have been incredible and genuinely seem to be supporting him, which I truly appreciate. I just wanted to share this good news. Happy holidays, especially mine, since he told Abby she was not invited. Update 5. Life has been busy but wonderful. I have received many requests for an update, and the people here have been truly amazing, so I thought I should share. To start, my wife and I have a lovely sleepy little baby boy, and he has made us incredibly happy. My wife, though a bit tired, is the happiest I have seen her in a very long time. I took my paternity leave, and then several family members stepped in to help my wife. My children have been incredible with their support, and my daughter has been really enjoying spending time with her brother again after a long while. I will not go into details because my wife would not like that, but I will say that she had a scare toward the end of her pregnancy, which made my children truly show up for her. Since then, they have been very present, even getting involved in celebrating Mother's Day for her. My wife absolutely loves it and is really feeling the love. My children are doing very well. The big news is that my daughter and her partner are engaged. They have a very clear idea of what they want to do, and they asked me to walk them down the aisle. It was a lot for me emotionally. I am not much of a crier, but I admit that I contributed to the happy tears we all shared when we hugged. My daughter asked my son to be her best man. They will both have a best man and a maid of honor, which makes me deeply happy, because I do not think he would have been her choice a year ago. They are definitely rebuilding their relationship. My son had work issues due to federal cutbacks and had to change jobs, but he is now genuinely happy in his new position. I used the money I had saved for his wedding and bought him a restorative trip. With all the work and personal stress he had been under, my son needed a break. No Abby, no work stress, no family. I think we are pretty great, but we spend a lot of time together, and I thought he might also need a week away from us. It was not easy for him to separate from Abby. She and her mother made it difficult. My ex-wife tried to reach him through Abby, but my son did not allow it, especially after a public tantrum at his former workplace, where his office information was available online, which deeply embarrassed him. She would never dare to do that to Sally. Neither of my children wants anything to do with her now. Abby made a couple of dramatic attempts to win my son back, but he was clear with her. She is out of his life, and my son is visibly more relaxed. He is living in a new place near his new job and even mentioned recently that he has started dating a bit more. A couple of months ago, a young woman joined our workplace. She is very kind, fun, and attractive. Our job involves receptions and social events, so I have had the chance to get to know her a bit, and she seems lovely. She has mentioned a couple of times that she is single and would like to go out, so I asked my son if it would be okay to give her his number if she was interested, and he agreed. They have gone out a couple of times. They do not seem like a serious match, but when he talked about how attractive she was, I could see that he was enjoying meeting new people, which honestly is all I hoped for. It brought excitement back into dating for him and helped him regain some confidence. So whatever happens next, for me this has been a success. Things really are very good now, and there will be a wedding. I have been helping plan it, of course following their ideas. I feel like we have come through something together, and now I am here overflowing with joy. Our little one, the upcoming wedding, and my son smiling constantly again. I truly appreciate all the wonderful people here and all of their good advice and kind wishes. Life is much easier now. Babies take time, but they do not bring drama. Update 6, because I was asked what happened on Thanksgiving. For Thanksgiving, my wife and I were there with Sally and her girlfriend, a couple of my children's friends who do not have much family and were basically adopted when they were all teenagers, and John. He just wanted peace and believed that Abby and her mother were eating with their own group. About an hour later, the doorbell started ringing insistently. I looked through the peephole and saw my ex-wife and Abby standing there. Abby was holding a tray of mac and cheese, and my ex-wife, for some reason, was carrying a bag of fast food, holding it as if it were her contribution. I called my son and asked him to handle it. He opened the door and his mother said hello sweetly and tried to walk in, but he stopped her. Abby said that the whole family should be together, and my son told her to stop and asked for a minute alone with them. I went back inside and told everyone what was happening, worried about how Sally would react. She stood up, marched to the door, opened it, and absolutely unloaded. Her partner was right behind her, filming on her phone. It was something along the lines of "What the hell is wrong with you, manipulative and crazy," and years of built-up anger just poured out in words toward my ex-wife and Abby, and then again toward my ex-wife. My ex-wife got so angry that she screamed "shut up," grabbed the tray of mac and cheese, and threw it on the ground, I assume expecting it to shatter. It just made a strange noise and stayed intact, though it looked cracked. Everyone went silent, and she picked it up. I admit I laughed at that, and my laughter only made my ex-wife more agitated, but my son stepped in, not yelling but firm. He told her that he did not know if he wanted anything to do with her anymore, but if she did not back off, the answer would be a hard no. He then looked at Abby and asked her why she kept doing this, how she still did not understand, and said, "What is wrong with you? I am genuinely asking." He pointed out what he had told her versus what she kept doing. She started sobbing, turned around, slapped my ex-wife, ran to her car, and drove off, leaving my ex-wife there. She had the absolute nerve to laugh, say that was an overreaction, and ask my son to drive her home. My children told her she could not even use their ride apps. She kept arguing about coming inside, and I pointed out that it was a safe neighborhood and that there was a park nearby where she could wait. I know it was petty, but I said wait, I want to help, went into the kitchen, grabbed a spoon, came back out, stuck it into the mac and cheese, and told her that way she could eat while she waited. My children laughed, so I sent them back inside so things would not escalate further. I stayed outside, closed the door behind me, made it clear she was not welcome back, and said a few other carefully chosen words. She clearly wanted to scream, so I pointed out that it was a quiet neighborhood and that would probably get the police called. She stumbled off, and I have not seen her since. Update 7. This will probably be my last one of these, because everything has gone back to normal and is good. My daughter's wedding is very well planned. It will be relaxed and small, about 40 to 50 people. My daughter is so happy with the venue and with how everything is going that it makes me incredibly happy to see her like this. This is the best feeling and exactly what a wedding should be. My daughter has also loved having my wife help plan it. She has a great eye for design, and it has given her something to focus on besides our little one. Her partner recently joined me on an overnight fishing trip. We were able to drink and bond, and she told me she wanted me to walk her down the aisle as well. I told her I had already agreed, and she said she was just making sure my acceptance was sincere and not just polite. I told her that our family is better because she joined it and that I felt deeply honored she asked me. We hugged, drank, and talked about how wonderful my daughter is. It truly is a feeling of peace to see your daughter with someone who is great, respects her, and takes care of her. I know they have talked about adopting someday. They would be wonderful parents, and my son would be a great uncle. That was my elegant transition to my son. He is doing well. He is dating a woman he met at my synagogue at a singles event. I think it is very sweet. She teaches at the Hebrew school, and they have gone out a couple of times. I am just happy that he seems like himself again, like he was before Abby. As for Abby, she is engaged and is now someone else's problem. My son still has a few friends in common with her, and someone let that slip. He did not want details, but my daughter, to no one's surprise, made a fake account and checked her social media. One day I came home and found her and my wife looking through her photos and posts. Apparently they have been in love for 150 years. It is the truest love of all loves. Since kisses were invented, there have only been 5 kisses ranked as the most passionate and pure, and they have surpassed them all. The guy looks like an older, balder version of my son, to the point that when my daughter showed me, she said, "Look, John really let himself go." I excused myself from seeing any more, but I can tell you that in her photos there are several of her with the guy's father, and yes, there are captions about her dad. God have mercy on his soul. I feel like the guy at the beginning of the movie who says it is behind you, passing it off to another dad to save myself and my family. But what can I say, we did not have to run faster than Abby, just faster than another father. Update 8. Several people asked me to post something after the wedding, and many of you have been wonderful, so I thought I would. The wedding was almost crashed, but by dear, and it was beautiful. It was about a month ago at a large house by a lake, a short drive from a fun city where we went to enjoy ourselves the next day, which was really great. There were about 30 people, not counting the brides, my wife, my son, and me. We set everything up the night before, and it looked beautiful. Our rabbi came and gave the ceremony, and they said their own vows, which were truly lovely. My daughter cried when her wife spoke, and her wife cried when my daughter spoke. The hardest part for me was the walk down the aisle. Both my daughter and her wife, which still feels very cool to say, asked me to walk them both down the aisle, which was incredibly moving and a great honor for me. I have grown quite close to my daughter-in-law. Beyond the things we have in common, she is intelligent, kind, and thoughtful. I know my daughter can and does take care of herself, but that does not mean you worry any less or believe just anyone is good enough to be your child's partner, and I know I am biased, but my daughter is the best. Both of my children are, and it is simply such a beautiful thing to see your daughter marry someone who truly seems like a great person to be her partner. I have been married to the wrong person and to the right person, and I have felt the dread of watching a child begin to choose someone who is not right. Watching my daughter marry someone I truly believe will stand by her and want what is best for her was the most incredible feeling. I think they are going to do very well. The 3 of us held hands as we walked down the aisle. Both of them hugged me at the front and said I love you. I may have held the hug a moment longer to pull myself together. It is a moment I will cherish for the rest of my life. My son was my daughter's best man. The ceremony was beautiful, and the reception was a lot of fun. It shifted from a larger group to a smaller one, and the fun continued into the next day. There was a hot tub on the deck that the few children there thought was the coolest thing in the world. No one had swimsuits, obviously, but toward the end, 2 of the kids, around 8 and 9 years old, stripped out of their formal clothes and jumped in wearing only their underwear. One of them even kept his socks on, which for some reason I find extremely funny. It was a great moment. My daughter and her wife had an amazing time, and I am smiling even now thinking about it. My son is doing well. He will be moving soon for a new job. It is a bit farther away than I would like, but it is a great opportunity he earned, and I am proud of him. Today I am proud of both of them. I did the best I could, but my first marriage was not good, and their mother is, well, not easy. I did some things right and I made mistakes with them, and I still do, but they are both such good people. My daughter is in her dream field and married to someone wonderful, and my son has a better sense of himself, being resilient and strong and stepping into something big that takes courage. My wife is doing great. Right now she is in full holiday planning mode and seems determined to host everything this year. I know that means fewer trips, but it will be fine and fun. My little one is already less little than he was when all this happened. Anyway, to anyone reading this, happy holidays. I hope you are able to spend them with the company you prefer, and to anyone in relationships they know are not good, learn from my son, who stayed too long in a bad relationship. He was not stupid for not seeing it sooner, and neither are you. He was not weak for staying as long as he did, and neither are you. But he is much happier for having left, and you will be too. Ending a bad relationship is like the saying about planting a tree. Of course you wish you had done it sooner, but the second best time is now. Happy holidays to everyone. Hug your loved ones, and if you are your only loved one, maybe hug twice as hard. Shalom to everyone. Edit. Regarding Abby, it has been a long time since I have heard anything about her, which is great, but more importantly, my son truly seems to be doing very well. Nothing romantic yet, but the distrust is fading, and he is in a much better mental state, which is wonderful. His upcoming move and career direction have him as excited as I have seen him in a long time, which makes me very happy. As for my ex-wife, both of my children have cut contact with their mother. My daughter gave her a chance to redeem herself, and my ex-wife, well, cannot help being herself and destroyed the very last piece of bridge that had not already burned and was still standing. My daughter said something that cannot be taken back. She did it deliberately to sever the connection. I was worried my daughter would be upset, but she has seemed nothing but relieved.